Well, meanwhile, why don't I continue with taking attendance then? And I just had a couple of small points. So, all right, Bill, are you here?
I'm here.
Phil,
Present.
Carlene, Nick,
Yes.
and me. Okay, so we'll just wait for Dan.
Mm.
And so I just saw your email, Carlene. So the meeting minutes of August 6th, we'll take a look at our September 17th meeting.
Yeah, the regular meeting, yeah.
Okay, and then, so I know that I have just two things I want to say. So the new member deadline is August 21st, and I'm wondering, Rose, if you can let us know how many people have applied.
We have one so far, and the NRC may choose to extend the deadline, but we're not sure yet. We'll check in with, I guess, Jim, and I guess it was going to be, yeah, probably just Jim tomorrow, and see what he thinks, how to proceed. We did have another email from someone that was interested in applying, and we said the deadline's tomorrow. So we may have another one coming in, but one so far.
And if I could just comment that I realize that having more is better, but to the extent any of our decisions end up in a tie vote, then it would be holding us up for us not to get a new person. The sooner the better.
I agree with that. Okay. The next thing I wanted to bring up is that our next meeting is, I don't know why he said the 23rd, because our next meeting is September 17th, right? Yes.
Yes.
All right. And it's currently scheduled for 6:30. And the only reason that I bring that up is that there's a League of Women Voters community forum that night from 6 to 7:30. And it's on the future of MCI, and it's a Concord, and it's an interactive discussion with the select board and the MCI master plan committee.
I also have a conflict that night.
I move that we move the meeting to 3 o'clock.
That's what I would like to do.
Sure.
Anyone want to second that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll change that meeting to 3 o'clock then. Great, thank you so much.
Want that to be in person and Zoom this time?
Yes.
Okay, let me check the calendar, and I'll let you know if you might get the first floor now. There's a chance you'll be on the second floor, but I will check that for the 17th.
Okay, thank you, Rose.
Who seconded that?
I did. Phil.
Yeah, Phil, that's fine.
Oops, hold on, there's Dan. Hello?
I'm curious what my theme song is.
All of ours, right?
Was that Respect? It sounded like the start of Respect.
I think you're right. How was Iceland, Carlene?
It was I can't even describe how incredible it was. Thank you for asking, Phil. It was really out of this world. We went to the westernmost tip of what's called the West Fjords. Do you know Iceland?
No.
Oh, well, we went, as far west and north as you can, right under the Arctic Circle. And it was just stunning.
And you've been there before, right?
Okay.
No, I've never been to Iceland.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Okay. No, that ringtone is for everybody, Carlene, except for my husband. I like the song.
Good song.
Okay, so that's good. So that was Dan again, and he's kind of getting organized. He had to pull over. He was driving. So the other thing I wanted to say is, just as a point of interest then, to kill a little time, is that I saw an osprey 3 days in a row diving into the pond below the dam fishing.
Outstanding.
Right. I got a video of him or her in the tree, but they just go too fast in order to get a video or a picture of them in the water and going down to fish. But I did wait and I did try, but I started to get bored of waiting.
Was he successful?
Yes. Yes, because he was up in the tree and he was eating it.
So,
So that was pretty interesting.
so here's something. I don't know what this means. I've been going by Neshoba Brook once a week recently to pick up some bread, and the outflow from the dam is very shallow there because it's been
Yes.
dry, and
Yes.
there are always fish there, and they are feeding. There's something in the effluent from the dam that's nourishing them. It's very
Interesting.
interesting because the water is very shallow, and I was surprised to see fish, so I stood there and looked for a while. But
Yeah. I mean, that's where the kids fish, and they fish like all the time, but lately they've only been getting just little tiny fish.
oh, these
Uh,
aren't small. They're like,
Oh, wow.
they're good size.
That's
And
good.
there are quite a few of them. I'm just wondering what they're eating because it's shallow water. So
Is
it
there
must
any
be
kind of outflow from the Neshoba Brook Bakery? Do they,
I do not think they would be allowed to do that. There are quite strict laws about what you can discharge into waterways.
well, sometimes the laws are circumvented or not allowed.
Not in this
Not
town.
So
all.
there's, I think there might be an old, outflow that predated the Wetlands Protection Act.
Mhm.
And I think that I know that the gas station runoff from that goes over the wall, untreated. Currently, that will be resolved when they redevelop that
The fish
gas
like
station.
it, whatever it is.
Um, Yeah. I mean, I would think they're eating some sort of invertebrates, or I don't know. Do you
So
feel like it's
Delia, what was the date of that Wetlands Protection Act where people would have to choose an
19
alternate way?
so 1972 was the implementation of the Inland Wetlands Protection Act. And I'm sure that those buildings predate that.
Oh,
Maybe
for
not
sure.
in their current form, but the developments, I think that site was developed before then.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. That
Chris-
gas station's been there
Chris,
forever.
Uh,
Yes.
In the interest of time, do you think Dan will come in? But I think this was
Yes.
supposed to be a
I
short.
was just
meeting,
going to
so-
suggest, yes, Carlene, that we get started, of course. Okay. All right. So Rose and Delia, we received the package late last night. So I didn't look at it until this morning. Thank you very much. And so why don't we hand it over to you guys to share what you've done, and then we can comment.
Sure. So I was on vacation last week, so I tried to tackle this when I got back, and it's just been a little busy. So I apologize for the late delivery of the revision. So at the last meeting we went through, I believe it was task 4, and I'm going to just share my screen again. And so again, blue text is what we have added, and yellow text is what we want to sort of discuss further. So I didn't do really much in the sections that we had talked about, with the exception of in this introduction, I added a sentence that the selected consultant will not be able to bid on the implementation measures. And that was to address the concern from the committee that you have a separation of responsibilities between the developer of the plan, the monitoring of the plan, and the person who does the actual work of the mitigation measures.
Do we want to actually write that in there, though? I mean, wouldn't it be, I mean, if they wanted to apply, they certainly could. It doesn't mean we have to take their bid, but would that discourage them from being a consultant or applying to be a consultant? If we just
I
told
think
them right off
to
the
the
bat?
extent, well, I think it's being very upfront that if you want to work on the plan, you're not going to do the implementation of the mitigation measures. And I think that's a preferred approach. I I think what it will do is perhaps people who are more of the plan implementer contractors, they'll be dissuaded from applying, but you really want the consultant to be somebody who's able to develop a plan
Yeah,
and conduct the monitoring. Yeah.
given that this conversation is public record, you'd certainly be open to a lawsuit if you precluded some people without telling them up front after this conversation. So I think you better put that in.
Well, here's something which I thought about too. I wondered whether we wanted to say something, and it may not work. Instead, you have Delia say, respondents are advised that the selected consultant shall not assume that their company will implement the mitigation measures recommended. The measures will be put out to bid in another, and all proposals will be considered.
Okay, I mean that sort of waters down what you were, I thought, trying to accomplish.
I felt
and
the
I
same
did
way
run this by
earlier.
finance, and they thought that was fine.
I agree. I think we're not, I think the people that are, I think it should be separate. And I think that's what the task force said. And I think that's what we decided. And I think that's very clear language. I was happy to see it in there.
I think the task force was that was the former iteration of us, so to speak, but I share a little bit of the concern that Bill is mentioning and Chris did, that I think we may be dealing, I don't know, but we may be dealing with a very limited audience for both consultancy and doing the work. And I would much rather see something like Bill's language, because that gives us more latitude, particularly if there's only a few companies that raise their hands. If there's more, then that's our luxury. But I would rather see more generous language that Bill just suggested for exactly that reason.
Because you could always, if for some reason that were to occur and the company who was the consultant ended up being the company that actually did the work, you could then hire someone later on to say, okay, let's make sure that what this company said they were going to do actually did it, and the measurement works. So I mean, there's always that option as well, because you still want the check and balance.
Where are you going to get the budget for that?
For what?
Well, no, it would be two people then, Nick, versus just the one, right?
Well, you're bringing in a third, well, I know. You're bringing in this new scope of work, right? You're bringing in someone else.
We're going to be doing that anyway, Nick. Nick, right now, the way it's worded.
Do whatever you want. I just think this is unless you're specific the way this is, unless you put in something that reflects what you're actually going to do and how you're going to judge people, I think you've got a legal risk. So
I don't see this as
this language.
I don't see a problem with this.
I don't think there's anything wrong with Bill's language. I mean, Delia, what do you think?
I'd like to see it in writing. I didn't follow it.
I'll
Can
tell you what I said again.
repeat it, Bill? Let me just type it in here. Let me just
see. I don't know if it
second.
works or not, but here's what I wrote down, Delia, just to see. Respondents are advised that the selected consultant should not assume that this company or their company will implement the mitigation measures recommended. The measures will be put out to bid, and all proposals will be considered.
So you're willing to consider the same company to do both? That's different than what we said last time, isn't it?
That's exactly right.
It's totally different than what we said. And I think there has to be the checks and balances that we talked about. I think, and one of the points that was made in this committee is what if the consultant is only recommending the few things that it is capable of doing?
We will know that.
And not doing a more expansive review of all of the possibilities. I mean, these are all points that we made. Go ahead.
Seeing it in writing, Carlene, I think kind of sheds more light on it. And I think it should be very easy with what any company's bidding on at state and the research that we do on these companies for us to determine whether they're making recommendations that are only within their scope of being able to follow through on. I think that's, and if we needed, Nick, to your point, if we needed to go down the road with a third person to double check this, let's cross that bridge if and when we come to it.
So is the concern, I think I'm hearing a little bit of the concern is that if you limit the consultant from being the developer of the plan and the implementer of the measures, that you might be narrowing the pool too much. And I'm not sure that I would necessarily make that assumption, because I think a lot of firms that are going to develop the plan, most of them are not going to, there probably would be a few, but I don't think most of them would be developing the plan and then going out and doing, you know, what are some of the mitigations? So the dash or, herbicide treatment. I don't think most of them, that's like more of a contracted versus a designer consultant kind of service. So
I
I don't,
hear
I
you.
don't,
I hear you, but we don't know the companies that we may be missing because they just won't raise their hand. And the worst thing to me would be getting through this process and either only something like 2 or 3 companies come forward, or 2 do, and we really don't like either one, and then we have to go go out to bid again with a whole new start on this. So I think the broader we can make this and still make something to the effect of this restated comment from Bill, why not give ourselves that flexibility?
It just widens the net. That's all. It doesn't
Right.
necessarily mean we have to choose them or do, or use them for anything. It just widens
Exactly.
the net.
And Carlene, that still would not discount having a check and balance on this. I mean, that's something that, yes, we have agreed to, and we would still do that.
But Delia, wasn't there something built in? Because again, the people that are doing the work cannot be the people that are, sorry, I'm outside and I hear a train coming. I hope you all can hear me.
Yeah.
The people who are doing the work cannot be the ones who gauge the success of the work.
that was
Um,
a
it-
comment that was made at the task force, and I thought that was carried through and felt by this committee. And I think that's the right way to be approaching it. And I
yeah.
understand that this sort of broadens the net, but you're sort of saying that maybe we will let you do both. And I don't think that's the message that
Right.
it's not the message that, I mean, Bill and Chris were on the task force, and maybe you want to sort of think about how that conversation came from that task force.
You're right. You're absolutely right, Delia. It did come from the task force, and we were dealing with, and I understand it, a lot of people who felt suspicious about what we were doing, et cetera. And you were right. That's where we came down to. This just gives us a little bit of flexibility. It doesn't mean that we won't do it, but just give us
Guys, I need someone else. I need someone else to take notes just for a minute because I've got a hawk. Sorry about this.
Well, there's a recording, right? So we can get it on the recording.
Right.
So I'm not, that's my recommendation. If it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass. But or I know it's up to you guys, but
Why not at this point opt for flexibility? And maybe it's a completely moot issue if we get an appropriate company for the consultancy, and then there's 10 people bidding on the job, then it's essentially no issue. But why tie our hands early? Or potentially tie our hands?
I mean, and we did, Delia, agree that we did want some sort of, we wanted a check and balance on this. We didn't want someone to say, okay, this is what we think you should do and we'll do it for you. I mean, if that was the situation that occurred here, then we would have to, that would be the one hire, and then the next hire would be somebody who would really double check it, which is to make sure that.
But that's not how we've written the proposal. This proposal is that this contract is for a firm to develop the plan, develop monitoring measures, develop recommendations for implementation, and then adaptively manage what that plan is. The town will select what measures they want to implement, and then this contractor, this consultant, will monitor the effects of what the next contractor who does the implementation, how well those measures work.
There's no raise hand function, so I'm doing my best here. At least not on my screen. I can't find it. The one thing that hasn't been mentioned here is that if you do not have the blue text, which precludes the designer of the plan from also being the implementer, is that when designing the plan, they can kind of bias the way that the plan's constructed so that they're in the more favorable position as a bidder for the work. So that's a different problem. But I worked in a consulting framework for a long time, and this is absolutely something we would do. We would go in and do a consulting gig, and then we would say, oh yeah, we also have these skills to do this implementation. So the whole thing would be written up in a way that we would be kind of at the inside track to get a contract to do implementation work. So, it's just another angle on why the blue text might be a preferred approach.
Mhm.
Let's vote on it
Okay.
so we can move on.
All right. Well, Carlene is not here, but so who's in favor of changing the blue text to the red text? Yeah,
Just 2, 3.
3. And then we're missing Carlene. So for now, okay, so the vote is 3 to whatever right now.
I'm against it.
Okay, so
We didn't get next, did we?
No,
no. So Nick, so you're against it. So right now it's 3 to 1. Carlene is not here. I vote that
Dan is
we
not here.
move on. Let's move on and continue.
Okay, you want to come back to this? Is that what you're suggesting?
I'd rather come back to it when Dan's here too.
Sure,
Okay.
I do.
sure, that's fine.
Okay.
It's okay with
Okay.
me.
So this is language that I moved from one place to another. You'll see where it's struck out in
I'm back.
green.
Looks good. Looks good.
Okay.
Can I just say, I heard 3 to 1. Is the
No,
one
we
the
did-
dissension?
Coming back to it, Carlene.
Look at that.
Great,
We're waiting till Dan's here.
terrific.
Okay, so I didn't take this out, but I don't know that you need to include language that they're going to have goals within an annual budget that's acceptable. I mean, I think that's a given.
Yeah, I agree
And
with
I
that.
think we
think
also
so,
want
too.
to have like the full range of what the costs are so that we understand, what we're
I agree.
faced with. Okay,
Okay.
so then
And
I'll
we
take
make
this
our
out.
decision based on that. Yeah,
That sounds right to me too, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, I don't think there's okay, regular meetings. So I want to talk about this a little bit because I think there's 2 sets of meetings and one of them, these meetings would be public meetings, and then there will be internal meetings that, 1 or 2 members of the committee could join in as well. So this is why I structured it like this. You'd have the kickoff, and then you'd assume 6 public meetings with the committee, different stages of presenting, the conceptual site model and talking about what the possible options are. I mean, those should all be committee discussions, but there's going to be internal discussions on more logistical aspects and that sort of thing. So that's how that breakdown.
So Delia,
Um,
staff meetings is just us.
Say it again.
Staff meetings is us as the committee.
No,
No, it's town staff and 1 or 2 members of the committee, if that's,
So-
would
I
be
think
less
we need
than a
to
quorum.
state that.
Yeah, so Stelia, I was thinking you would put down town staff and the chair of the Warners Pond Management Committee, or in the earlier part. And then I would say that, again, at this meeting, the town, meaning the NR staff and the Warners Pond Management Chair and the consultant will discuss the goals, et cetera, et cetera. So that's
I mean, I think that could be a committee meeting.
Right.
Consultant.
That makes sense.
fine. I just thought that, like we had done with the task force, we met separately with the consultants and with the chairs of the committee. So something like that.
Yeah, I like having it with the committee.
Sure.
Sorry, if anyone has their phone notifications on, I think it's like dinging kind of loudly throughout the meeting.
No, not me. Delia, also, where you
I didn't-
have the projected meetings, you might be limiting us too much with the committee meetings. I think I would say up to 12 meetings for the committee and up to 12 meetings with staff.
That's a lot of meetings.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be 12. But I remember last time
Well,
when we
they're
had
going to
the
budget it for
But
12.
they're gonna charge you.
That's a
for
lot
it.
of, that's a lot of time.
the last time we had this problem with the task force. We ran out of meeting time
What?
with the consultants.
I
And
don't-
it seems to me you want a monthly meeting with the consultants, with the committee.
I don't agree. I think I just don't agree. I just think it's mostly it should be meeting with the staff as long as we have one or two people there from the committee to bring back reports. That is adequate. I
And
think
it's
if you
kind of
have the whole
standard.
committee involved, it's going to get slowed down with conversations and questions, and it's going to be a mess. We won't get anywhere. I'll warn you.
Well,
When-
if you meant by staff, if you mean, the chair of the committee and, that along with, say you, Delia, and Rose, that could be okay.
Staff is paid employees of the town, and then one or two committee members. That's what.
It varies,
That's-
Nick. Thank you. I understand. I've been around this too, but it can
Well, you
vary.
asked, the way you posed it was if that's what it means. That's what
I'm
it
asking
means.
her. Yeah. Is that what you're thinking, Delia?
Yes, I am thinking that it would be, the staff meetings could include one or two members of the committee.
I think we should note that then.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it just looks like staff meetings and it looks like it's just, as Nick says, paid employees versus one or two committee members.
I think we have it somewhere in here that,
I don't know, looking through it, it just kept saying town staff, and my question was going to be, what do you mean by town staff? What does that include?
town staff is town staff. I mean, that, like Nick said, I mean, town
Paid
staff is
employees.
the paid employees.
So
Right.
not having been down this road before, someone made the comment, Delia, it might have been you, that having more meetings is quote unquote expensive. Does that in terms of additional charges by the consultant or
Yeah.
just occupying staffers'
No,
time?
it's a
or
cost.
what?
It's a cut. Like if you increase, committee meetings are generally more, there's a presentation that's involved. There's, it's a more robust participation from the consultant. So it's standard that you would have, more internal meetings and then fewer committee meetings. I mean, that's just generally how these things are structured.
Let me ask you a question, Delia. I know I put down up to 12 committee meetings. Couldn't it be that this would be a point of negotiation with the companies who are making the proposal?
For sure, but I think, we need to give them something to bid on.
Mm-hmm.
So there can always be, I mean, yes, it can always be renegotiated if there's additional need for, any part of it. I mean, you can renegotiate a contract up to 25% of the value of the contract.
I don't get why people are pushing for more committee meetings. It seems to me, given the size of the committee, it will slow things down just because they're going to have to rehash things that they've done with the staff. And I just don't see any value to it.
So my point is on the staff meetings is that, and Delia has said, to include one or two committee members. I would like that just noted on there, staff meetings including one to two, committee
It's
members.
fine.
Yeah, that would be okay with me. And if that's true throughout, that probably works. So, yeah.
And the committee meetings are public meetings. And I don't know if you need to state that explicitly.
Say
And
what?
then say that they're public meetings, but staff
Committee
meetings,
The committee
mean, I
meetings
think-
are public meetings.
Right, that's just inferred.
Okay, all right, okay. So staff meetings, including 1 to 2 members of the committee. And
Yep.
so the project kickoff meeting, what does that include? Everyone?
Mm-hmm,
Okay,
it's up here.
okay, with Warner's
right.
Pond. Okay, okay.
We have the same problem with language in the next paragraph. Do we mean when you say town, providing updates to the town, you mean the same small group, which is okay with me? Is that the natural resources staff and
I'm
representatives?
sorry, where are you? Here?
Yes, in that paragraph where you say the town, do we mean the NRC staff, NR staff, and the White Pond and some
Warner's
key
Pond.
members of the White Pond Management Committee?
I
Warner's
mean,
Pond.
they're going to provide
Warner's Pond.
updates, you know, that presumably they're going to provide to staff, and staff will share that out with the committee. I don't want to sort of get into an open meeting law, you
But
know,
you
so
wouldn't, it'd be no more open meeting law, Adelia, than you would if you said 2 members of the, you know, if you had the
but
same.
don't you want everybody on the committee to learn about what the updates are?
Not that we'll do it at the next full meeting, but I'm picturing this as we did with the task force, that we would often get a little bit of a preview from the consultants, the chairs, and the staff before we all met. So I'm thinking if, you know, you and Rose and Chris and whoever else, I don't care, not me, but anybody else, Dan or somebody, probably Dan, would meet ahead of time, that'd be great. That'd be great. I would feel good about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's maybe a little bit too much. I think this is all happening, but maybe, I don't know. I think
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, this is just sort of general standard RFP language. A lot of this came from other,
Sure.
you know, I looked at the MCI. It's very similar where there's an engaged committee. You know, we're not looking to sort of, you know, but there are going to be you know, some of this stuff is going to be, you know, with town staff to keep things moving forward. And then, you know, for like this, you know, they can send it out to 1 or 2. I'm just concerned that you start, you know, there needs to be one point of contact, right? And so if you're having conversations, they're going to send an update and we may have questions. You know, I don't want to sort of drag it out into a larger
Okay.
format where there's like more, you know, I feel like it should go to the full committee for that update, then goes to the full committee and is discussed. And then if people have questions, it's then brought back to the consultant through town staff as the point of contact.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to put into the RFP issues related to the town's issues about internal communications among town bodies. That's kind of weird.
Right.
All right, move on.
So this one was for this conceptual site model. I just added a deliverable, and I took this from the RFP. You guys had on one page a number of deliverables, and I just put them into specific tasks.
So I don't understand where it says the consultant shall review and incorporate staff comments as necessary.
We can
What
just
does
say
that
comments.
mean?
If we have comments, the expectation is the consultant will address them.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I see. You just deleted staff. Okay. So just comments.
Wouldn't they be kind of expected to do that anyway?
Yeah. I mean, yes, but I don't know. I think we just always have that in there. I don't know,
Okay.
just to make sure that they know that there's like, it's not going to be presented. Here's your, you know, here's your document, and we're not going to incorporate. So just to help them build in time for that, you know, having some review process.
Yeah.
So this came,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah. On this page, and I know I'm being, I don't even know if you need to put in things about eBird, that
Yep.
whole sentence.
I
Personally,
sure. I mean, it came up at the last meeting that those were potential sources, and
Yeah.
so I was just trying to be responsive to what
I
the
thought you were. I thought, once you start down that road, well, why not Cornell and why not,
Yeah.
So such as, that's good.
yeah, I don't even think it's necessary. They'll know. They'll know.
I agree. Yeah.
I have a quick question about this. Delia, why is it incumbent upon, and I'm just asking the question, I just don't know. Why is it incumbent upon the consultant to advise whether this additional wildlife, sediment, water quality stuff should be included? Well,
Additionally,
I would say this is an example of why the consultant shouldn't be the implementer, because I see you nodding, so you
Yep.
hear.
right. I'll tell you the reason that I added this in is because I think it would be helpful to have, if it's basically identifying if there are any data gaps that
Yeah.
we are not picking up on, and giving the opportunity to the consultant to say, you really should have this because this is out of date.
Right.
And I just,
Can
right.
we say that directly? Like, we need up-to-date data on all of these vital things. That's where my brain is going. Like,
Sure. I mean,
Without
the thing is
question.
that like I don't know,
I think
because
it
I'm not a
says-
water quality scientist. I don't know whether the data that has already been collected is recent enough, but they should know
Right.
that, and so I would ask them to provide, and if we have somebody that says, oh yeah, you need to redo everything, that's going to drive up their cost, and that's a factor
Mhm.
in the consideration of, how that bid is evaluated.
I think it's clear. It says whether additional water quality information is required. That's crystal clear. We're
Yeah.
saying,
And-
we're giving you some, but tell us if there's other stuff that should be incorporated.
I agree
And
with
it's
you.
not that we wouldn't have any say. It's that, certain things aren't going to change that much of it over time. For example, sediment sampling. It takes a long time for you to get a new, thick layer of sediment. So if you're going way down in the core, it's probably still pretty accurate if it's only 10, 20 years old. But other things may change a lot more quickly and need to be updated. So it just depends on what aspects you're looking at.
And this paragraph is assuring that those things will be updated if there is a gap or if the data are a little stale.
That's
It's
what it's
providing the
asking.
opportunity for the consultants who are bidding on this,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody will come in with something. Maybe they all come in with the same thing, but say they all come in with something different. And, somebody says you need to remeasure every single thing that you've already measured. Well, then, they'll provide a reasoning for it. Then you'll read another proposal and they'll say you don't need to do additional sediment sampling because,
Okay.
there's no for depth of sediment because you don't need that, so that you can sort of evaluate between those different proposals, and it'll be sort of a learning process, I think, for all of us to understand from the consultants who are the experts on this.
And so there's an opportunity for us to say, well, this data looks like it's 5 years old. We need more on this particular thing. We
Yeah,
can
I mean-
have that conversation. Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
So all of this has been just moved into different tasks. And I
Mhm.
still have some questions about these, but let's get to the task where it's in. I just changed that to just say the Warner's Pond Adaptive Management Plan. And this was, let me see. This was taken from the RF. So I apologize because with this version, it was more difficult to kind of use exactly the language from the RFP because there was a lot of changes in these recrafting the tasks, and that was really for simplicity. But this language came from the RFP, and then I just added in for years 2 and 3.
Okay.
It's good.
I don't have any problem with what you have. It's good.
Okay. I didn't come to any kind of conclusion on this. And I think, I mean, that was a point of conversation at the last meeting on whether or not it made sense for them to evaluate. The way that I'm thinking about it is that I think it would be helpful to have a consultant. You know, there is that, analysis that was prepared during the Warner's Pond Task Force process of a drawdown, assuming that the drawdown measures that they work. And I think it would be helpful to have the consultant evaluate that. And
Mhm.
maybe we have a conversation with them, as part of the kickoff that says, we don't want you to spend a lot of money on this. And maybe you can give us some guidance on whether, like, with what the information is that you see here, is the best approach to really understand if the measures, the drawdown features of the dam, do they work? Or should you evaluate it first? Because I see both sides of that.
There seems like there's something missing from this paragraph, as you've written it. It says that there may be a problem with the thing, but it's not clear if it's telling them it's okay to consider drawdown. Should the wording be, if drawdown is being considered as part of the implementation, then be aware that there may be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right, but I'm also trying to leave it kind of high level. I don't want to say you should be considering drawdown. I want them to come.
Well, I put an if in there.
Okay, so according to Concord Public, the existing drawdown has not been maintained for the purpose if in
Something
consideration.
Prefatory thing. If drawdown is being considered,
Mhm.
be aware that according to Public Works, I think it's okay after that.
Okay, that's helpful. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Maybe this is not a good time to bring that up, but so I know that I think it was maybe you, Delia, I'm not sure who, had talked with Public Works about that.
Yeah.
So they have, I mean, because I sent them, I had been dealing with Aaron because I think I don't know if you referred me to him or whatever last year, Aaron McCloskey, about the cutting of the grass on the dam. And last year he took care of that, and now he's been promoted he's been promoted. And so now Eric Shaw has taken over Aaron's position. And so he sent me a copy of their I&M manual for Warner's Pond Dam on what they're supposed to be doing to maintain it and whatever. And within that, and this is a draft from 2024, and within that, it says that they are supposed to be checking that on a yearly basis to see if it works and whatever. But clearly from our conversation here, they have not been doing that. So is that something that maybe you guys would approach them about, or I don't know how to proceed or what to do with something like that?
I mean, so you're saying it's in
It's in their manual. Yeah, it's a 2024 draft manual. He sent that to me. He said, this is what we're supposed to be doing and this is what we're gonna do. I said, okay.
I can have that conversation and see. I mean, I think, as I understand it from their perspective, they are not, I mean, they're sort of doing everything. There's a lot of things that different departments should be doing, and it always comes down to money and, staff resources. And so, whether I can ask them, because your manual says that you're supposed to be doing this, does that change the fact that it hasn't been done? And see where that
Yeah, it'd be
leads
great
to.
to
But
be great to have that question come from you, Delia, your department, rather than us. And I think the third element of why it might not have happened is just the human nature part, where at this point they may be saying, hey, I don't remember doing this. Hey, Joe, do you remember doing this? Okay, we've never done it. We're not going to do it this year. Let's go to the next thing.
I think it's also that there hasn't been any like demonstrated need for it. So they're, maintaining something. I mean, certainly they do that for NAGOG, which is the backup water supply. I mean, they manage that to be the backup water supply, even though it's not always necessary, right? But it's time and resources that go towards that.
Is
But it
the
might be that's
same people that do that?
I'm not sure exactly. I mean, it's Public Works. Whether or not it's contracted out, I'm not sure. And which department or division, I don't know exactly. But it's the same.
I think the difference here, this is Dan. Sorry, I've actually been attending the whole call, but I was on the phone, and I think I just get muted when you're attending by phone, so you can't participate. I don't want to speak with any, specific knowledge about dams per se, but I just want to note that this is a little different, and this is a dam safety issue, and it's a regulated requirement for maintenance, which is non-discretionary. It's different than, say, road work or something like that, where you can have some discretionary element to it. And that the phase one reports noted that we did not have a maintenance plan. So, Chris, I was a little surprised to hear that they had one, or maybe that it came out after the last phase one report by PAR.
I think the last phase one report was 2023, Dan, and this was dated 2024.
Yeah, so maybe they were actually creating a plan in response to that.
It could be. We can find out.
I think we ought to kind of use this as a way to note this. And if, Dan, it's a requirement, as you suggest, certainly believe you, that it may need to be corrected if it's not operational, and it shouldn't come out of our budget.
And it may not get done.
We should be, if this is a way to deal with the pond and cleaning it up, then we don't want to have to kind of sideline that potential solution because of something town employees didn't do or chose not to do or whatever. So it shouldn't come out of us.
Just because they should do it doesn't mean they have budget to do it. Be aware of that.
But if it's a requirement, as Dan says, then
a requirement in a recommendation like this will be does not get money into the town budget.
The budget's irrelevant. The town is an owner of a dam. And under Massachusetts, they have an obligation that's separate from budgetary considerations.
Okay. And that would include drawdown?
Well, again, I don't want to, be
you have your entire email up on the screen. Do you know that?
Sorry.
I didn't want to, as a committee member, imply that I have any, special knowledge about dams. But drawdown is also, we're looking at it in the context of a pond treatment measure, but it's actually more often done as a safety measure.
Yeah.
They have to draw it down.
So Dan, just for perspective,
so I think we need just to check with the CPW and just see what's up. And I do think it's CNRC. It's not this committee. I think it's, if Delia thinks her group is the appropriate group, then so be it. Or it could be the town manager. I don't know.
Dan, just for perspective, if we were looking at this and it's the year after the new dam was put in, 12 or 15 years ago, can you give us an estimate of how how long it would take? Is it a half-hour thing to check it out? Is it an hour? Is it half a day? How long should it take?
Well, there are two devices for drawing it down. The primary one are the tide gates, or the not tide gates, sorry. We're working on a lot of coastal projects. The flood logs there. So you can see that device. I mean, you can walk out to the dam and see it, and I did, and it looked fine. But what we're missing is the hoisting tool, which I suspect the town may own. But you know, it's usually stored until you need it, and then you bring it out. The second, so I think that's probably relatively straightforward. The second drawdown device, which is a much lower in terms of volume, is the gate valve. And again, I'm not speaking with any expertise here other than just my personal opinion, but the gate valves are quite deep, and they would be really problematic. So I can imagine, you know, there could be a reluctance to turn it because we don't want to break it at this point, because then it would be a significant thing. So we probably would be thinking more about the logs.
Dan, here's a question. Breaking it, so it means it's, so what would happen if it was broken? It just means that the thing
Broken
would
in
not.
the open position, you're gonna leave.
Yeah, I
water
mean,
to
it would
flow.
mean that they'd have to get a whole construction crew out there to fix it. And
Okay,
it's down deep. So that's just, you know, that's a big deal.
got it.
Well, I think it's valuable having this discussion to really understand it. And I just think if it is one of the preferred solutions, we should be able to go along with that recommendation from the consultant without it necessarily being a cost that has to come out of our budget because it hasn't been done, which, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, our committee has, and
Chris?
I don't think we want our committee to play any role whatsoever in the maintenance of the dam. It's not our purview. It's not our charge. It's not our responsibility. Our interest really is, can we use those devices to draw it down for pond treatment as an alternative? And I think, so our position is just asking the question, can we do it? That's the extent of it.
But last meeting, it came up that one could also pump, right? You don't have to use the drawdown mechanism.
Well, it's a lot of water, so it's quite an expensive process
Right.
to do that versus just passively being able to draw it down.
And then it would be part of our budget, right?
Chris, could you tell Delia exactly where that is? She just had the document up.
Just had it up.
Oh, yes, I just had that.
Just had the document up.
I did have it up, and I just put in stop logs. So I was trying to see. So where, Dan, is that requirement for the? Do you know? You probably don't know off the top of your head.
I've never read this document, so I don't know.
Okay. I think it's on the Warner's Pond Task Force.
No, it's not. This
It's
was,
not.
this is what I got from Eric Shaw.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to send it around.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Okay, I'll send that.
Sounds like we will follow up on this, though.
Yeah.
Staff will.
And I don't know, you know, explicitly what that report says, so I can read it with the other committee members, but I do know that the PAR Phase 1 inspection says they are uncertain as to whether those devices work. So
Right.
that's what sort of got put out there.
Right.
Okay. All right, let's move on then. Thank
Okay.
you for following up on that. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I have that last thing you added. I don't
Yep.
know if that's necessary to say the pond
This-
management measures, you know, should be,
Okay.
in my opinion. I mean, that's up to us, I think.
Okay. That I put that in, being cognizant of it being taken out of another section. But
Yeah, and
I
think, you know, the reason, and because that originated with me in the first draft, I think one of the biggest challenges for our committee will be understanding how and what we can do about how whatever measure is going to be paid for. And so there will be some estimate of a budget on an annual basis. Let's say that the town, we think that we would be able to accommodate. And all we're saying here is a consultant, shouldn't be assuming there's just money's not an issue.
Right.
We want to be considering measures that are going to fall within a reasonable estimate. And maybe by the time the consultant's on board, we will have a better sense as a committee of what that dollar value might be per year.
And also the word reasonable means a lot of different things to different people. So I think it'd be better if we just, if that's something we can discuss later, but not have in the report, because it's going to throw a lot of people off, I would think. Just let us figure out what's reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it has to be in the RFP. I mean, it could just
Yeah, that's
be something we say to them when we meet with them.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to say something that came up right before this was the meetings. So there were a lot of meetings there. And the intent was that the committee would be interacting with the consultant, so they would be educated and qualified and informed to make recommendations going forward. So I think a lot of those meetings were really about that, interactions between the consultant and the committee. What I was hearing, well, I could hear but not speak, was it sounds like we're going to delegate a subgroup of the committee, probably working with Delia's crew, and then that subgroup would communicate with the rest of the committee. So, but the general idea is that I don't think this is going to be a deal where we just meet with them once and they come back with a report. I think we want to have a series of meetings, so we're learning on our end, and they're hearing what our expectations are on their end.
I agree.
I think
I
that's
do too. That's a
understood.
good point. Good way of stating that.
And that is the intention here as well from our perspective. I'm trying to go into in the original RFP that you guys had, you actually had the kickoff meeting and then 4 additional meetings. And then an annual. So you had, this is actually one more meeting than what you had in the RFP itself.
Yeah, I think I recall the meetings were tied to the tasks and the deliverables.
Yep. So it was task 2, task 3, task 4, task 5, the kickoff, and an annual meeting. So I think, and Dan, you've been on the consulting end of things, and you know that there's more meetings than you have than doing presentations, right? And so that was the purpose of the staff meetings, as well as, whoever you guys could decide amongst yourselves. It can't be a quorum for, obvious reasons, but you guys can decide who wants to join in those, more sort of logistical regular meetings, and then these, and how those committee meetings are structured and what you want to see from the consultant when they do those presentations. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think what he's saying too, and maybe that's what you're saying, is that so we all are hiring whatever consultant, and so we want to work with that consultant, directly, obviously, with you guys, but also directly to say, hey, this is our charge and this is, what we're looking for. I think that's what you're inferring, Dan.
Yeah, and also this is, our committee, the way I've always understood it, it's effectively sort of a technical committee that's implementing a process, as opposed to the task force, which was a little bit more political and decision making. And so to be an effective technical committee, everybody on the committee is going to need to be informed. So for example, when they finish the conceptual model, the idea would be they present it to the committee, and the committee people could ask, like, what's going on in the pond? What do we have to worry about? Is it about oxygen? Is it about something else? Right.
Right.
So that was the idea. It's really to inform the committee. So when we make decisions, we're doing that on an informed basis.
Right.
So,
I completely agree. And that's why, this is structured the way that it is, with those 6 committee meetings.
And Dan, that's why we're very glad that you're here.
Yeah, although I do think, personally, it's better for like certain of these meetings for everybody to be on board rather than hearing it sort of secondhand from a subgroup,
Mhm.
because you may ask questions that, that subgroup didn't ask, right? You're like, oh, okay, we got to go back and forth a few times.
So I think maybe we should just step back for 1 second and take a look at the tasks where we would anticipate that the consultant would come and have a conversation. So the kickoff is going to be, obviously, this is the meeting where the full committee is going to be meeting with the consultant to sort of say, these are the issues that we have, these are questions, concerns, that sort of thing. And then we get into, so that's one meeting, that's the kickoff. They're going to review the available information. There's no need, I don't see a need for them to come to the committee until they then prepare that conceptual site model. They're going to come, and maybe we can just put in there. I can wordsmith it later, but okay, so that's where we want them to come, is under that task. They're going to collect the baseline data. We want to know whether they're going to advise on, okay, so then this is, and then this might be 2 meetings that they're developing the plan. They come, they say, this is what we're thinking we're going to do. And then as they are developing it, they have that feedback from the committee. So this might be with an expectation. Something like that. I mean, I'll flesh this out a little bit, but I'm just trying to put it into, so it's more clearly related to the tasks. And then I think that's 4 meetings. Is that it? So implementation, and where are the deliverables here? We need to add some deliverables to this one. Sorry. So that's 1, 2, 3. Four, 5, and then the kickoff. So that's 6 meetings. Does it seem like there actually should be more, because it's going to be, you're going to want them in years 2 and 3 as well.
I thought this was only for 1 year.
Yeah, me too.
Or no, you did decide to do 3 years.
Yeah. So, and the reason
Okay.
for that is because just from the standpoint of putting something out to bid, it's a fair amount of work to do that. We can go out to bid. I mean, we can issue a contract for 3 years. It can be rescinded at any time. I mean, the town has a lot of flexibility if they're not happy with the work of the contractor to, not go through the full 3 years if they don't want to.
I like that idea.
Hmm?
I like that idea. For the
Okay.
I mean,
3
years 2 and 3 are going to have fewer and different meetings than year 1. So
Yeah.
years 2 and 3, I think, are going to be more about when something's actually implemented, like performed in the field, and they come back and say, well, this worked and this didn't work, and have the monitoring results,
Right.
and then lay out what would happen the following year.
So this is with this I've just put in 10 meetings instead of 6,
Yeah.
and that would be with the expectation that you'd have 2 meetings, with the full committee in years 2 and 2 in year 3.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So Billy, you get your extra meetings right there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Although I'm actually wondering whether it's enough over 3 years, 10 meetings. That's you're saying 6 meetings the first year, and then what? Or 2 meetings
Well,
each of the following 2
Julia was
years?
saying 2 meetings per year for the following 2 years.
Right.
And that's going to be enough. Let's say, for example, that we find that we're in a conundrum, that it's this may or may not work. We want to kick it around for a while and go back and forth on it a little bit. I could easily see you adding another.
And I think that's a totally fair point, but I think for the purpose of just getting a number to start with, I don't want to blow the budget on
I
meetings, I
understand.
guess is my concern. It's, and if we do need additional meetings, we can negotiate those.
You
Okay.
you want to say, maybe you don't have to say it, Delia. Maybe it's understood. Additional meetings might be negotiated.
I think it's a given.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's leave it to the consultant to bring
Yeah,
it
and
up.
I think my personal opinion here is that, very, very often a lot of proposals are going to go out and meetings are going to be sort of a secondary thing and sort of an added cost. But I think meetings are actually fundamental to this scope. Because it's going to be a process that the committee is going to go through. And we're only going to be able to do it if we're actually, interacting regularly with the consultant versus, like I said, just getting a report and sitting around and reading it.
Yeah.
So aren't you saying the same thing I'm saying, Dan? Should be more meetings?
Yeah, I mean, I defer to Delia. I look at it mostly because we don't want to go to a change order later, but I think, it's valid
Sure.
to not inflate it too. They're going to
Yeah.
charge for the meetings. They're not cheap.
That's right.
The
So-
committee can still have meetings without the consultant, though. I mean, that's what we've been doing so far. And you will probably need to regroup on things like the recreation part of it and just kind of where are we at. And I know the committee has developed a Gantt chart. Is that something that you would want shared with, or do you want the consultant to maybe with, like, when I've done in the past been part of projects, it's like at the kickoff there's like some kind of at least a rough idea of like schedule of what the consultant thinks they're capable of, or would we share what is created so far, and they go, oh, we would need more time than that, or whatever. That's something that I don't think we've integrated.
I think the Gantt chart should be just us. Let them come back with their own schedule and
And then I think when you have a selected consultant, I think you say, and there is the expectation that they will provide a schedule.
Yeah. Okay.
And then when you pick somebody, then it's sort of saying, well, this is our Gantt chart, and how does this, jive with their schedule? I mean, you're going to do that comparison anyway as you're looking at the
Yeah.
proposals, right?
Okay.
So
And-
this, I'm going to sorry.
I was going to
Sorry,
say,
I-
I think the meetings were, like I said, more or less tied to the tasks, and I thought there was a schedule for the tasks in the RFP, but
Yes. You did have months associated with that, but I would prefer,
Yeah.
we can talk about this. I would prefer that the consultant come back with what they consider to be a reasonable schedule.
Sure.
yeah, the only thing then is, as a committee, we need to think, certain of these activities are seasonally dependent, and we
Mhm.
don't want to miss a whole nother year.
I agree with
So
that.
we want to have some end dates here to ensure that we're actually doing something the next year.
It's true, because one of the comments in here was that we needed an investigation for the different seasons. And I was thinking, well, if they need to incorporate that in their initial plan, then they're not going to have their report done until the end of the year, the end of next year. So I
So
would,
let me just I just put in some numbers because I thought probably people might want to know what we're sort of thinking, just like schedule wise these are just tentative numbers for the release, and then we'd get to a contract start date at the end of October,
Mhm.
right? And then at that point, the consultant's going to review the existing data. They're going to come to you, sometime in the early winter with, the conceptual site model that's identifying the existing conditions. They're going to have identified what data gaps, and they're going to be, I think, in a good position if there's additional data that needs to be gathered for the baseline to go out. If they need to do a spring assessment, they're going to be in a position to do that with this.
That would mean that we would not implement any mitigation or any in-water mitigation measures for another year, because we would not be able to get the contracts
It's a whole
prepared to
nother
bid.
RFP.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do know what you're saying, and that is a possibility. But if there's no additional data that needs to be gathered and they say you have everything you need, and this is what we recommend that you do beginning in, summer of 2027, I think they're in a position to do that. I think that the unknown to me is whether or not additional data if there are data gaps. And if there are, then yes, I think that kicks it out.
But I
So-
agree, if there's data to be collected and that's what gives us the full picture of what the mitigation is, then so be it. We need to collect the data. We can't just go in blind.
Yeah, it could, I mean,
Irresponsible.
there's a lot of data there, so it could be more, we just need to set a baseline, but we don't need the extra data to decide how to move forward.
That's
Right.
true.
But I think that's,
Or
we're
we
gonna
move
see what
forward
mitigation we
contingent
do.
on
But some
other
is going to be
data.
in spring and some is going to be in fall. So we're not going to be able to do that spring mitigation in 2027.
You may. I mean, if they're starting in October, so that's basically November, I would say within 2 months. So November, December. So in January, they're coming to you with their conceptual site model and hopefully with what they see as, data gaps, if any. And,
Then we need-
that's still, I
Then we
think,
need to
time.
write up an RFP for that next step then, right?
And
For
put it to bid.
company to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
to get
mean, RFQ, hopefully, if it's less than $50,000, then it's a much simpler process. But if it's over 50, then it would be an RFP. Yeah.
If it's under 50,000, Delia, then can you just remind me what the process would be then for that? Do you just have to take the cheapest bid though?
You do, you would issue 3 quotes. You would request 3 quotes, I'm sorry. And you could get more.
But then we'd be maybe stuck with that company moving forward or not?
You would have them for that season and maybe not, if you weren't satisfied. I don't know that you could engage them for 3 years, but I don't know that you would do that because you're sort of doing adaptive management and you don't know if this
Right.
company is going to be able to provide what the consultant says, oh, we need to shift gears here. And
Right.
we're recommending this, I mean, it's a little complicated for sure.
Yeah, it is. It sounds like a slow process because every time with the adaptive management plan, you say, okay, we're going to try this next. Okay. Then you've got to do another RFP for that unless we hired a company that would work with us. But I don't, you know what I mean? Like every change we made with the adaptive management plan said, okay, we want to try this now. Okay, can you do that?
And maybe you write the RFQ/P with a range of services that you're looking for based on, you ask the consultant as they're developing the plan, recognizing that this is adaptive management, what is the range of options that you see are going to be, possible or necessary or feasible.
Yeah, and we can do those kind of bids on a unit cost basis too. So
Yep.
I don't think it's going to be an issue because adaptive management, the only regulatory pathway in Massachusetts, as far as I know, Delia and Rose is for pond management, for eutrophication. So I think that there's precedence out there. for this. And if there's a regulatory pathway, then that means contractors are going
Yep.
to, they're not going to be hearing this for the first time.
I don't think there's any way around this timing anyway, right? We can discuss it
I
all day
agree.
long,
But
the timing, and we just,
yeah, I mean, I think we either have to force in the RFP saying you're going to have to like crank this out very quickly, or as a committee, we're going to have to be realistic in setting expectations for when we might actually be doing something in the water. Either way.
Well,
Right.
and you
Let's
could
talk-
also, like you have the overarching principles in the beginning here where you could say, is it here? That's goals and priorities. This is conditions. Okay, overarching goals, improve water quality, mitigate. And then you could say something that you had in the original proposal that this is a 5-year, so maybe this is where you put that in, that as a 5-year process or something, the consultant is expected to provide how would you phrase that? That you want it in the timeliest fashion, that you want it as quickly as you can get it.
I think I would leave out in the minutes I see 5-year process. That means whoever's looking at this says, okay, now I have plenty of time. So we should
Okay.
leave those words out. So
Okay.
we want to proceed, worded in such a way that we want to they get the message. We want to proceed as quickly as,
Yeah, I mean, the
reasonably
reality, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the reality is in an RFP like this, we can say the draft of the plan is due on this date.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Right.
But that date from our perspective is going to be dictated by when we hope to be implementing something in the water. And, some of those may actually have to be permitted. So that would have to be built into the schedule.
Right.
In addition to just being contracted to do the work.
Right. That's true.
So
Maybe say management recommendations. And just a quick time check. We're getting close to 4:30. I think that was our original end time. So just be aware. I want to respect everyone's time. But obviously this is important to get through.
Do you want to say something like that? Is that helpful, or just does that muddy the waters?
I think that's good. I like that.
All right.
Okay.
well,
Assuming all appropriate factors are collected and present.
Well, yeah,
Again,
we're not-
if
yeah.
if there's a hunk of data that we need to make a determination about water quality or wildlife or whatever, then we'll, and if that's determined in the process, then we need to have that.
The one thing I would probably that's fine. The one thing I would probably change, Delia, is the consultant is expected to provide management recommendations beginning in 2007. I wouldn't say year one, because they might think, am I not part of this in the future?
Mhm.
well, I mean, I think it's also for mitigation to begin in 2027,
Right.
not the recommendations.
All right, sure.
But I think realistically, we're having this conversation. I think it's looking less and less realistic that we would be doing in-water mitigation other than the voluntary stuff that the town does.
You're bursting my
Especially
bubble.
if
Dan.
permitting is required.
Bursting my
That's-
bubble.
It is what it is,
Yeah.
I mean, there are other types of mitigation which are not in water that we have a lot of control over.
Right.
We should get back to that statement about what we're going to do when we began, and the vote was what 3-2 or 3-1.
So I had put into the introduction this blue text, and Bill suggested this red text, which is a little softer and more flexible. The reason that I put this in is because I had clearly heard at the last meeting that
Yep.
you did not want to have the design consultant be the implementer.
Yeah,
And I think there's a,
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting. I'm gonna shut up and
that's
do your-
okay.
Oh, we want
I
to know
think you
your
were on,
opinion.
No,
I
Dan,
think you were on
okay.
the call.
yeah,
right?
Dan,
I
this
did
is-
hear
this
the
is
whole
for-
conversation, so I didn't miss that. Bill, I hate to say this, but I am leaning towards precluding
fine.
them because I think the whole goal here is to have an independent
Agree.
agency. I feel like if they are the same one doing the contract, we're going to have to hire yet another consultant to go out and do the monitoring.
Right.
I just feel like I'd rather risk maybe having a smaller pool of respondents, but have a completely independent agent representing the town and town's interests.
So how many, do you have any conjecture, Dan, of how many companies are even in this field to consult and then to perform the work?
Well, I think we're looking, this is my personal opinion. It's a little bit like a marriage here because it's going to go on for a few years. We're looking for a certain type of consultant we're going to have a strong comfort level with. But the pool could range from everybody like an EA type of consulting firm, right? Which is a little bit bigger, broader, but they have ecologists, to somebody that's doing like Bear Mountain, which is really a very small team, but this is all they do. So I suspect we're going to get some responses and we'll go from there.
Phil, I'm going to interrupt. I asked AI that very question. I put in Massachusetts and I asked AI what they thought. And the AI from Claude said in Massachusetts, you can probably expect 3 or 4 companies that would be interested in this. And then delving deeper, it even named a couple, which I had never heard of. But
What were they?
one of them was Oxford. That comes to mind. Does that sound familiar to you? Oxbow. Yeah. Do you know them, Delia?
Yeah. I know them more as wetlands consultants. But water and wetlands, they, I think of, they're one that would do both.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
Design and implement. But I mean, if they don't come in on this end, then they could come in on the other end. I mean, I think I think 3 to 4 is what you would expect. I mean,
For each phase?
This is just as a
For
consultant.
both
I don't know
sides,
about the
yeah.
other phases.
Well, that's important though, because
Yeah.
we want to be able to draw from a pool of people who are interested for both phases.
right.
Yeah.
I'm less familiar. I mean, I think water and wetland could do both. That firm in Harvard, Bill, that you have talked about, they
Yeah.
could do both,
They
right?
could do both, I think. Oh, I don't know, Delia. I think they're more consultants than they are.
Oh, don't they do the implementation? No?
No, the
Okay.
town. no.
Okay. There's a handful. I mean, honestly, there I would say are fewer contractors than there are designers. Fewer implementers than there are designers.
Yeah, and
Who are-
my sense is the trend in the industry is to do it turnkey. So the municipalities or pond owners, they just go to one stop and they just take care of everything. But I think in our case, for me, the ideal would be a smaller shop, just a consultant, but one working for other municipalities in our area with similar issues, because then we can talk about what's working there, possibly even joining forces on mitigation measures with those municipalities. So I
Could
think
save us
that
some
would be the good thing. But I think Phil will probably get enough. But I think if we have a firm that's primarily trying to sell, they're doing consulting as a loss leader to sell their construction services, that's not consistent with what we were tasked to do.
I agree.
So two thoughts. One is somebody mentioned 3 or 4. Well, let's say there's 4 who are gonna bid on the consultancy, and then somebody else just made the point, and there's going to be fewer bidding on the work. So that's
Maybe.
potentially a problem. Let's say it's 2 that bid on the work, and in my mind, I'd much rather have more than 2. So we're just trying to solve this thing. If we end up with a tie vote, the other practical question, Dan, if you vote, you prefer the blue text. where do we go from there? Versus,
Delia, could we put something in that says that, I guess it would probably be in the second round of bidding. If we get too few bids, we can change the constraints so that the
We
people
have
who-
every, if the, town or committee is not satisfied with the response, you don't have to issue. You
Okay,
could just,
so,
you can pull it and rewrite it, or you
okay,
can,
so we could go with this language in blue. And then the second round, if we feel there aren't sufficient bidders, then we can say, well, okay, we're going to open it up to the others who did the consulting.
right.
I think
And we
that's
don't need a
reasonable.
lot of bids. We only need one really good bid. I
Right.
mean, if we don't get one that we feel comfortable with, then
We don't go with
I
that.
would
I'd like-
suggest a change
like-
to the,
I'd like to keep this language in blue and then with the understanding that we can relax that in the event we don't get sufficient bids in the second round.
I second that.
and I just had a verbiage suggestion to the blue.
Yep.
Which would
Go
be
for it.
kind of along the lines of, respondents are advised that the selecting consultant is intended to be an independent, you can wordsmith it. I'm just going to get you an idea here. And, an independent consultant representing the interests of the town and therefore will be precluded, just so they know where we're coming from.
What does independent, what do you mean independent consultant?
Well, objective, separate from the actual implementation work, so they can
Well,
have
we're
an
saying that.
independent monitoring report, for example.
How about objective consult? That
Yeah,
sounds a little,
objective.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah,
Better.
all right, so we're gonna accept, take this out and you'll have in your minutes that, you can put that back in if you aren't satisfied with the responses.
yeah, I like that with the understanding we can,
Sure, that's okay with
just
me.
gonna cost us time if it comes to that.
Okay.
Okay.
Very
So,
good.
two things in the meetings, as we were talking about those, I realized that we actually want to have in that task, this is going to be 1 to 2 members of the task force. Because it's not going to be, these regular meetings are going to be just with that 1 to 2 members. So we don't need the full committee to be trying to schedule those.
So just a question on that. I mean, I guess I sort of personally had assumed these were all public meetings, so the public could
Not the
hear the
staff
consultants'
meetings.
findings.
Not the staff meetings. And
Um,
that's just standard with, when we have consultants, working on a project that's with a committee. I mean, that's how MCI Concord advisory committee is. It's in fact, all of this language was taken right out of.
So what
that
do these
RFP.
1 or 2 members then go back to the committee and present the findings?
I think that's the idea.
So there won't be, I mean, it's really more logistical, like, okay, this is what we think, I mean, there might be discussions on, how these tasks are laid out and the timing and talking through, what seems to be, maybe there's a change that and yes, I think at that point, and there's, a report out to the committee at their next, regular meeting, about, and if there are questions that are large enough that, the staff and the 1 to 2 members of the committee feel like this is bigger than just something we should, then they come and they have that conversation with the full committee.
Is there a reason we wouldn't just make these committee meetings?
Because it becomes very cumbersome and it will take a lot of time to get anything done.
You can see how long these meetings take with all of
Well,
us. and
Yeah, I
that's
just think
plus
that the
I have a
committee-
question.
the-
What if Delia, because I understand what Dan is saying, so I would like, I'm assuming that Dan and Chris are thinking they're going to be the 1 or 2, but I would also like to attend these. So could it be that could the language be that that additional, that it's not I guess if we're there, if
Yeah.
three of us are there, is
It's a
that
full
a
committee, though.
quorum?
It
Right.
can't be
So
a
it-
quorum.
And maybe
so
you
I
have
couldn't-
like a
I couldn't
rotating,
go.
maybe it's not always the same people that, so there's, I mean, there's, I think, different ways to skin that cat, but I think having, we need to have, I think in order to make this be, productive and not
Yeah,
blowing the budget. I mean, when they see that they're coming to public meetings, that is a much more costly meeting than it is for just an internal, logistical meeting.
yep.
Yeah, I mean, we can sort of control that a little bit. I think the downside to not having everybody is I'm just trying to think this through. At the end of the day, the committee is going to have to vote to make some decisions. And if
Mhm.
people are voting on things that they have not heard or participated in, I don't know what they would be basing their vote on, other than
But
just
I
trusting
guess
the
I'm
few
trying to
people
say that
that went.
everything that has any substance to it, the consultant will be coming to the committee.
Mhm.
These we always include because I mean, meetings cost money and they
Mhm.
are super, super important to keeping a project moving and on track. So we have meetings internally with consultants all the time just to make sure that things are moving in the right direction, right? And then when there's anything of substance, beyond scheduling, logistics, if there's like major changes or even not a major change, if somebody feels like this is something that the full committee should be, weighing in on, I think then they come to the committee, and have that conversation. Because
So
I
could
agree
we,
that you don't want to have anybody feeling like they're not understanding what the
Yeah.
process is.
And it never happens that these are posted as a matter of course, but not everyone, like no one's expected to go unless they want to.
What is,
It's not a formal meeting. It's just, it's posted. So if people want to go, they can, and you were covered.
No,
no,
no.
I'm
no.
just asking. I'm
Yeah,
just
no.
asking.
well,
If it's
if you
posted, it's a matter of
attend, are
course.
you, is it
It's a
I don't know
quorum
the
issue. It's
open.
an open meeting law issue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that maybe we could just not make a decision right here today and just say select meetings or certain meetings may be attended by the entire committee. I'm just thinking, okay, they're going to have
That's a good
they're going to have
idea.
a meeting dedicated to presenting the conceptual model.
Dan, here's my suggestion. Leave it as it is. You do want to have one or two members of our committee working with Delia and Rose to set things up. If there's a need for other committees, for a full committee, they'll recommend it to us.
Yeah, but
You know.
Bill, these meetings that are in this RP are they're not sort of subcontractor maintenance meetings about schedule and budget. These meetings are selected to present substantive information
Mhm.
to the
Yeah.
committee. I mean,
The
what
committee
am
meetings
I going to
are,
go
right.
hear the conceptual model and then give a presentation to the committee?
No. That's why, like, for all of these committee meetings those are the substantive discussions, right? So this includes, a presentation to the committee. There's
Yeah, but that's what I'm getting at. This is one of those 12 meetings
one of the 10.
or 10, whatever we
Yeah.
had there.
Or 14, if you ask me.
There's a 12 there now, so I wasn't. Committee meetings
Well,
10.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you, Delia. So these are there's 12 non-committee meetings that are
Correct.
just supporting the contractor, keeping them moving.
Yes.
Yes.
And then the 10, so that we have 22 potential meetings. Okay, I misunderstood. All right, that's
You
good.
good?
Okay. What else, Delia, do you have to review?
I want to just bring you to I know that generally what committees will do is help write the scope and the tasks. But I know that you also had thoughts on the comparative criteria. And so I did make some changes to that, and I want to just discuss those. Where are they? So I had 4 criteria, and you had more. Responsiveness to the RFP, project team qualifications, approach and schedule, and quality of the references. And I tried to roll in almost everything that you had in your criteria. The two things that I did not include were specific experience with developing an adaptive management plan, because I honestly don't think that you're going to get a lot of people that have specific experience with an adaptive management plan. I think in order to sort of broaden the nets, I think you just want to have, so I tried to have that they were, you know, providing this experience and expertise
Mhm.
without saying that they had developed an adaptive management
Yeah,
plan.
Sure.
I agree with that.
Okay. And then the other thing I didn't have in here was whether or not they had experience with municipal clients, because I'm not sure that I see that there's a need for that. But somebody added that in, and so I wanted to understand why and whether you feel strongly about that.
Dan, it was you, I think.
Where is it in here?
So it's not in here. I didn't include it because it was in the proposal that the committee sent to us.
Yeah.
And it was, the criteria was that the extent of experience working for municipalities and municipally owned ponds or lakes.
So that's
And
not
it
in
was-
here.
It's not in the one that is on the screen, because I didn't include it because I
Oh.
wanted to understand. I
think
wanted
that's
to
fine.
understand.
It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
Unless
like-
there was a reason, was there some reason that there was a specific interest in having sort of the municipal?
Well, I think, I can't remember, because we were following actually a bit of a boilerplate from
Okay,
Right.
provided. So I don't remember if that's originated, but I think if
Okay.
I had to provide a logic, it was just the nuances of working for a municipality and the process, the political process, the budgetary process.
right.
I just
Right.
thought, you could say it could be advantageous to somebody, versus only working for private pond owners where it's
Yeah,
just
but-
top-down decision making. But
But if,
Okay.
Whatever.
but if there are a limited number of companies, do you really want to put that in as a
yeah, I
qualifier?
think that's fine.
And that's certainly a question we can ask during the interview.
Right.
And
think
just
my-
just to be clear on the interviews, not that it probably will matter if we just get 3 or 4. Finance has told me that what we have always done is you get 10 and 4 of them are very good, and so then you interview those 4. But they have told me, according to their counsel, that if you accept, you don't reject anybody because they didn't meet the minimum qualifications, you then have to interview everybody. And I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just there's just more time, and this is the
Yeah, I
joy of
do-
municipal government.
What I am a little sensitive to is that this is not so specific that someone could say, well, I'm highly advantageous on every one of these qualifications, but we just, after the interview, just don't feel like it's right. It's a good match.
Yep.
I think we want to have enough flexibility that we're just not literally held to that. So
Right. And so you're saying that in favor of having an interview.
having an interview, but also having the ability to, possibly not select someone that was highly advantageous on every score. So
Right.
I think there was one thing in the other draft that was a little bit more sort of amorphous about,
Yeah.
this
So,
is
and
like-
this is, and
to leave it
I'm
open.
with you. I am with you, Dan, 100%. This is the structure of the RFP that we need to follow now. This is finance has sort of come down and said,
Yeah, okay.
this is the template. And so if we do interviews, this is how they are being considered. They're considered in confirming or refining qualitative assessments. So I think you have that wiggle room through the interview process. It's just, we used to be able to score the interviews themselves. And they said you can't do that anymore because they're just supposed to be, for these bulleted purposes. Right. They're not intended to create a separate evaluation criterion. But I think I agree with you because say you have, sometimes it's like interviewing people. You get a really good resume and then, looks good on paper, but then when you actually get the, person in for an interview, it can be a very different experience. And
Mhm.
so I do think that the interviews are important and that they have some bearing on the, evaluation, but it's not considered, we're not allowed to look at it anymore apparently as a, criterion.
Okay.
Okay. Did you want to, how did that schedule look to you?
Actually, that schedule fit into our
Your Gantt chart?
chart
Yeah.
because we had award on by 10/31.
Okay. So this I will tell you is a little tight between September 30th and, this interviews, because September 30th is a Wednesday and then October 5th is a Monday. So that gives
Ooh.
you like, a day to review and score, and then, schedule the interviews for the following week. So that is a little tight, but I mean, I think it's fine. It's not a fixed schedule, and I think you might as well try to be
Was a try, yes.
okay. All right. Sorry for taking up so much time again.
We got a lot of work done, Delia. That was great.
Really good
No,
conversation.
wait a minute. On that last one, Delia,
Yep.
we get the proposals on a Friday, and by Monday,
Wednesday.
Wednesday, not
by
Friday.
Friday, and then the following Wednesday.
So
following Monday.
the proposals are due September 30th is a Wednesday. They'll come in at noon. We'll email them out. And then as far as the evaluation, you guys will need to pick a couple people again to be on the evaluation committee, because it will be made up of town staff and
Sure.
a couple members of so you guys get to have that conversation, maybe at your next meeting, or maybe you do it today.
Delia, one question about extending it to 3 years. So my understanding is we have a fixed, we have a very specific dollar amount that we know is guaranteed for us.
Mhm.
And I don't think that would be exceeded, but if it were exceeded by virtue of extending it to 3 years, what would that mean if the money wasn't there?
If we don't have the money, we would not be able to issue a
Mhm.
contract.
Even if we don't pay it all in the same year? Even if
Nope.
like the first year is a certain amount?
So
No.
that was a little bit of the thinking about 1 year, because I'm, quite confident the 1 year budget is there.
Right. Well, I hope there's almost $300,000, and my hope would be that you come within
I
that.
thought it was only 197.
Hmm.
Is it
Yeah,
100
that's
or two?
197
Yeah.
was what I was.
197.
Is it 197?
Yeah.
Yep.
Let me just.
What I remember.
That other money was for the boat launch. 264 or something.
Right.
Maybe
Oh,
that's
you're
what-
right. So it's 193,000. Yep.
So it's just a thought. So,
Right.
um,
How much do you think this? I mean, you said at the last meeting, Dan, that you had kind of looked at it from I don't know if you maybe I don't want to take up everybody's time. I know you're close to the end of your meeting, but Dan, if you had an idea and you want to give me a call, and we can kind of talk through some of this, I'm happy to do that.
so just a follow-on question, would it have to be rebid if we say, we're going to hire you, and depending on whatever, we might extend your contract? So to, 2 years or 3 years, would that contract extension require another bid, or could we just
I don't-
do that
I
within
don't
the
know.
town?
I would imagine if it's more than 25% of the 1 year, that it would have to be rebid, but I can check with finance.
One other question, looking at the allocated monies. Let's say one of the remediation plans regarding additional recreation involves specifically doing something to the potential boat launch area. Is some of that 264 potentially able to be reallocated as a joint dollar resource for us?
I'm not sure that, I mean, I'm not actually sure I fully understand that question. So you're asking if something in the plan is recommended that had a recreational component at the boat launch, could you then, you could tap into that money because it's already, you know,
We can.
allocated. You know, but the idea for that is that, you know, that money was to be used to finesse the design, which was pretty rudimentary, for the boat launch improvements, and then implement. So it was for design and construction, of the boat launch improvements. And you know, I mean, it doesn't have to be a separate process from the adaptive management plan, but you know, it's not a current project because we've got a lot of other projects going on right now.
Yeah, this is obviously down the road, but just kind of
Right.
curious whether, because it's possible that there will be a lot of overlap with that boat launch area.
The benefits, right?
I mean, I think that money is currently available for design and improvements at the boat launch. And so if that's something that came out of the adaptive management plan, that money could be tapped into without the need to reallocate it.
Okay, that's our answer. That's good.
I mean,
So,
I would suggest, Delia, I know we're trying to get this out, but if we could in fact extend the contract without going to another bid, I would rather come in for 1 year and make sure we have the money so we can actually move forward and hire somebody. But I understand that, yeah, if you got to rebid it every year, that would be a whole different story.
Right, exactly. Yep, I can ask the question.
that would be good, because otherwise, I mean, I don't even know if we could put in another CPA request. I think the deadline is September something or other to get it in, and we don't even have any figures or idea of what it's going to cost, unless, Dan, you had some ideas as to what it was going to cost and if we'd be approved or not.
Making the application by whatever in September, when would it get voted on and potentially approved?
Town meeting. It has to go through the CPC process, and then if they say, yes, we think this makes sense, then it has to go to town meeting to be approved. So it'll be town meeting in what, April, May, whenever town meeting is.
Yeah, and that's a process I think we're all going to get pretty familiar with.
The deadline is the 13th of September, just so you're crisp on that.
But
Is there a way of proactively making an application to act as a placeholder, just thinking that we may need the money? Or is that burning bridges?
Well, no, you're not burning any bridges. I would suggest doing some outreach right away to Diane Proctor, who has been the CPC chair, and just say, look, we're in a tight spot here. We may need to make an application in a hurry here. So that's my best suggestion there. But
And
the
I think as
13th
a
is there.
subcommittee of the NRC, I think you should be communicating that to the NRC as well, because ultimately they would be, if not sponsoring, at least co-sponsoring the application.
Right.
We may want to do that.
So what does that mean, Delia? We would write up the CPA request and then you would process it? What does that mean?
Well, you need to get NRC on board with that, going to CPC and asking for additional money. There's other projects that they have, they may have, there's at least one. So it's a question that you would have to, I think you would want to get the support of the NRC on that approach of going and getting additional funds from CPC.
Would it make more sense to wait until you put this out for bid and see what the numbers look like? And then if you're like, oh, this
By
is
then
way
it would be
over.
Lost a year.
you'd miss-
Lost a
yeah.
year.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you would if you get support from the NRC, I would suggest that you put in the application and concurrently put the project out to bid. You could say as part of the application, if we don't need it, we're not going to, we'll pull the application, we'll
Right.
withdraw it. But at least then you're sort of, you're teed up if you need to be teed up, and if you don't need it, then you don't need it.
So when you mean support from the NRC, that means go to the next NRC meeting?
I have to think about what that means, but yes, I think given the time frame, it's August. They meet August 26th next, and that gives you what, 13th, Dean? Did you say?
The
That doesn't sound
13th.
right.
You did, September 13th.
No, that's a Sunday. I think it's the 18th. I think that's my
it is,
recollection, but I'd
yeah.
have to check. Anyway, so that gives somebody's gonna, put that application together, and those all need to be done, at least a week in advance, so that we can get them in front of the town manager for review and signature. She'd have to sign off on it as well.
The 18th may be correct, Delia, but I know that Diane Proctor has mentioned it in multiple meetings that, it feels early, but they're doing their best to make sure that the process gives them time to review
Okay.
all of the applications.
Got you.
So that means we would need to write an application, go in front of the NRC.
I think you first get the support of the NRC, and that's, I think, just somebody coming to the meeting next week will put it on the agenda and getting their support, and then you write the application,
Is getting it on the agenda something you can do, Delia?
yes,
Okay, great.
September 18th is the
18th.
deadline.
Okay.
The thing is, we're going to have to be constantly, we're going to be coming back for funding to actually do something after the consultant's got a plan.
Right.
And I don't think we want to start off by going and asking for more money for a consultant. Like if we do 1 year, which
If we
confident
can,
we can
Dan.
do.
You
But
can
then-
do 1 year. You can do
but then
one.
we
It
can
just
go to
means
the
that year
NRC
2 and
with-
3, you're going out to bid again.
Yeah. And then we go to the NRC with a completed plan.
Hmm.
And now we're going to be asking for money that maybe has some additional consulting costs, but we're also asking money, simultaneously for the actual implementation.
I think that makes sense.
So do you know for a fact then, Delia, if we go for a 1-year plan here, that we have to go through the process again for rebidding for the second year and the third year?
Yeah, because that's not part of the contract. I mean, you could write it, and I think, Dan, that's what you tried to do in the initial, you tried to write it, but this is what I need to check with finance. I believe that say the contract for 1 year is $100,000, and then you want to go out for year 2. I don't think you can bid it, or I don't think you can renegotiate the contract for more than $25,000, right? And then you certainly can't do year 3 because this is what I think, but like I said, I'll check with finance. But you cannot renegotiate. Procurement 30B doesn't allow you to renegotiate contracts for greater than 25% of the original contract price.
Would more of the work, though, be done in the first year and cost more money versus years 2 and 3? That might be a lower
For sure.
cost. And
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a lower cost, but it's not going to be an insignificant cost. And 193 sounds like a lot of money, but we're going to burn through it.
Dan, you keep on, you say this a lot, but I'd love to know what you think about how much it's going to cost. I just looked up, for example, Bear Hill Pond again. They spent the initial amount they spent, according to their website, was $40,000 to $55,000 for the initial consulting and engineering plan.
When was that?
But I don't know. It doesn't say that though, Delia. It may have been 15 years ago. But
Yeah.
annually, and this I do have, they're spending $11,000 a year, not counting the pumping, but with a consultant. Now that may not be what we're thinking, but I'd love to know, what, and that's with the consultant, Aquatics Restoration Consulting.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
want to be too
ideally,
Pollyannish about this, but we may be lucky to it's like $50,000 or $60,000 a year. You don't think so, though, huh?
well, I don't know. This is a public meeting and we're throwing around dollars and a smart consultant's gonna go listen to this recording.
Okay.
So, you know, ideally we're gonna get something very affordable and it'll be great. Um, but I think the worst outcome would be nobody comes with a cost for 3 years that we can fit within that 193. That would be a bad outcome. And I'm
Yep.
not saying it would add up to that. I'm just saying,
Right.
you know, just conceptually, because then we would be back to the drawing board, right?
Correct.
And have to rebid the whole thing from the beginning.
So
But
let
I
me
think,
find out from finance if we can do a year. And maybe it's just a year with the understanding that, you know, the next, you know, years 2 and 3 are just going to be rebid.
and Bill, if we were sure that we have enough money to cover all 3 years, then we'd be done. But I just think there's
No,
uncertainty.
I get what you're saying now. Okay.
And that's why I'm
I mean, I hope that
suggesting,
probably that will be the case, but
Yeah.
we just don't know going into it.
that's why I'm suggesting if we have agreement that, you know, putting in an application is not a bad idea for more funds.
All right.
So I'm hearing some different things here, and I'm wondering, would you like me just to find out on the 1 year versus, you know, and then the ability? I think I know the answer to that, but I think it'd be helpful to confirm. And then assuming that you want to do just a 1 year, does somebody want to take a stab at just, if I send this around, I've just made a few minor changes as we've talked today. Somebody want to take a stab at rewriting that to be a 1 year instead of 3 year?
Delia, one more quick question. I'm sorry. Could you write it? Could it be written to say a 1 year with an option for 2 and 3?
That's how you had it originally. I think
Originally,
that's how
yeah.
Dan had, yeah.
And
So
what's
that's-
wrong with that?
I
Maybe
need
I
to check
maybe I
with
missed the
finance. I
conversation.
need to check with, no,
Right.
it's a question on whether or not you're able to do that within procurement.
Yeah, I think, you know, Delia's the expert here. I was, you know, in that original draft, it was sort of desirable, but
Right.
they're not coming from any place of knowledge specifically about how the town can procure services.
Okay.
And it may be that it can be done. So I think I need to find out the answer to that. So I'll put that
I
on.
think that's a huge, huge question that we need to know.
And then if the answer is no, then we go with 3 years and just see what we get. Or we go with 1 year and be pretty confident we'll be moving forward.
Well, I have no conception of what it would cost for 3 years, Dan, so it's hard to answer that question.
Right. The other problem I have, and I may be wrong about this, I was on that community preservation committee. Since we haven't spent this money already, I have a feeling they're going to be very reluctant to give us more money without having committed even gone very far on this as it is. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, I worry about that as well. That was a thought that I had.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no experience like some of you guys do with the application process and what goes along with that. But my gut instinct is we're going to be more successful if we have a plan in place
Yes.
Yeah.
and we're moving towards doing something
Yep.
specific. So,
Yeah, I agree.
I think we just need to keep in mind that if it does make sense to wait, then we're talking about $28, right? Is that when we'd actually see them instead of next year? If it's approved at town meeting, when do we get the money?
You would see it 2027, July 1. Fees. I mean, that's that. The funds are available after town meeting. They'd be available July 1 of 2027.
and I for this committee, I think I mentioned this before. I think one of our key tasks will be to move, once this RFP's out the doors, to move towards an understanding of how we're going to finance the work in general. Because we have these consulting costs up front, but then we're going to have some kind of annual cost to
Right.
do something in the water. And the sooner we get even an approximate handle on that and start talking about, well, okay, where's that going to come from? How are we going to do that? I think the better off we'll be.
All right. All right. So Delia, you're going to get back to us about the 1 year versus 3 years, like whether we can
Yep.
do that. And then, so now the question is if we cannot do that, or if we can do that, great. If we cannot do it, what's our plan? Go with 1 year or go with 3 years?
Well, you have, if it's 1 year and like I said, I think we're confident there's more than enough money for 1 year, then we
Right.
have a path forward.
Right.
If it's 3 years and they come back exceeding the available funds, then Delia, what were you saying? We will withdraw the bid? The RP?
Well, if you haven't, if you don't have funds available, you can't issue the contract.
Right.
But if you had an application in to CPC and then you knew that it was over, you could ask the consultant if, they usually hold their price for, what is 90 days or whatever. Well, you hold it for, till July 1, because that would be the earliest the contract could be executed, right? So then you would be in that time frame.
So Delia, you cannot renegotiate with them. Let's say they came back and it was a little too expensive for 3, but we could afford 2 years. We're not allowed to negotiate.
That is my understanding.
Okay.
And I'm gonna ask that question because there is the ability to negotiate but the way that I understand procurement is that you put out a contract and consultants bid on it. And then if you take out tasks, then you've changed the contract.
So I'm going to separate the RFP from the final contract. Could the RFP be written in a way that says, we're asking you to give a price assuming a 1 year and a
Yes.
second price assuming a 3 year,
Yep.
and that the contract will be issued dependent on available town funds or whatever,
Yep.
something like that?
Yes, that is the way that this should go. So you can say,
Perfect.
we're going to issue this for 1 year, and that's the base bid. And then you have an additional alternate for years 2, and then a second adult for year 3. So you can
That's
do
perfect.
that. That's the way to do it.
That's the way to go. That's the solution.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good
that is
having
the
you in the
solution.
car. You did pretty well from
Excellent.
Hope you have your air conditioner on, Dan.
Yeah, cranked. So Delia, you asked who would help rewrite it. I would be happy to work with you on that.
Yep.
If
Okay.
you need.
I will send it to you, and I can also share with you adult language what that looks like.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. I
All
have to
right.
jump. I have a 5:30 that I need to get to.
Okay.
All
All right. Well, thank you
Okay.
very much. And then for the rest of our group, I have to ask for public comments. So
No.
are there any public comments? Is there any public? I don't see any public. Of course, I can only see you guys. All right. So the meeting has been adjourned then at,
Can I just say one thing? I have
Yes.
a survey to show you all, but can we just put it onto the agenda for the September 17? I created a survey that I had said I would deliver.
Yeah, I
Is
was
that
gonna
the
ask
one
about
you and
that.
I are working on together, Carlene?
No, you said that you were gonna, and you created some language to send to the stakeholders,
Right.
but I created a survey for just the community to write about, to send to, abutters, just people in general about their interest in recreational opportunities at Warner's Pond. So can I just ask that it be put on the agenda for the September 17th meeting?
yes. And is that something that you can share with us beforehand so
Yeah,
that we can?
it's all
see
done.
it?
Yes, so I'll be happy to share it and we can wordsmith it together.
Okay.
And
Is
also-
anyone able
You
to
would-
look at those past survey questions and results, or no?
I'll look at the ones because I'll be doing the stakeholder part, and to Carlene, it sounds like it's going to be doing the abutter and the general community. So I'll look at that and also get language to the committee ahead of time so we can get that signed, sealed, and delivered.
Thank you.
That would be
Okay.
good.
I think it's good to look at those past ones. There were some good questions, and you can get an idea of how people responded. At least I know it's a little outdated, but there were some helpful things in there that I think I sent to everyone in an email. But just keep it
And
And
in
just a
mind.
request from me, if you could
Oh.
keep me on the CC lists of these distributions, it's helpful because then I know what's going on as I come into these meetings. So that's helpful to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We haven't done that in the past, but I can add you to the list.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, one more thing, Chris, we had, I thought we had said at the end of the last meeting that you would try to get onto the Recreation Commission's agenda to talk about, just to sort of start the conversation with them and let them know that we're coming for them. So
I
that's
didn't think
something
that
you-
we had agreed with that, but I will do that.
yeah, I
Okay.
think that's a good idea.
Sorry, with that, just if you could keep me looped in on that too, so I can, as staff, communicate with the recreation staff, so that they're aware that we would like to talk to them and make sure that's the best way to. I know we've attempted to kind of get in touch with them, but I was asked to stay in the loop on that. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
All right. Very good then. Then the meeting is adjourned at 5:11.